You are listening and perhaps watching Well To Do, the podcast, which is all about having abundance in wellness. I'm Andi Lew, and I'm so proud to suggest that you need to look up Aries Tech. They're our sponsor for today's episode. I'm wearing their Flex on my necklace, but you can also put it on your keychain. Aries Tech is a global company that helps you harmonize EMFs, electromagnetic fields that surround us every day, from our iPads to our microwave ovens. I don't own one, by the way, but if you have these EMFs around you, you're going to need Aries Tech. And while you're there, use my code ANDI, ANDI 30, and you can get 30% off. And our guest is going to be gifted with the Flex today. You get to keep one. Kristen Weitzel, welcome to the show. You are all about breathwork, which is what I love.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Andi. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, you know what? It's a really good, podcast to listen to, because as we're talking, perhaps the listener and viewer could be breathing, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, hopefully we can teach them not only the importance of it, how it works, but also to practice it and just put it into practice. A lot of us, I guess, gain the knowledge and then don't actually practice what we learn.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point for sure. It's like the low-hanging fruit, and we all think, the people that I work with in my one-on-one coaching and in my group programs, they're like, I'm breathing every day. But how wrong can I be? And there really is a biomechanical way to think about breath. It's like, without getting too sciencey, there's a way to think and be intentional with the way that you're breathing based on what you're doing. And I want that for people.
Oh yeah. Now, why do you want us to breathe well? What are the benefits?
The benefits, I mean, there's so many things. I just came off of a couple of years of the first time in my life where I had really strenuous levels of anxiety. And so for me, breath work, knowing that I had that tool, was something that I could navigate and use every single day to be able to create a situation where things that were making me anxious, I could dispel by breathing myself into better, as I say. Mm-hmm. And for everyone in the world, there's, I think the next big pandemic is really around loneliness and anxiety and depression and emotionality. And there's so many ways that we can breathe healthfully to be able to calm our mental emotional state. So for me, that's the biggest first benefit. Mm-hmm. And then there's so many others that tag into, we're here in LA and there's so much fitness going on. So people understanding how to breathe well, whatever they're doing in fitness, whether it be yoga or lifting really heavy weights. And
so it's not even just about breathing and meditating. It's about breathing in everyday life scenarios. Like even when I did my deadlifts this morning, it was all about breath, and I had someone there trying to talk to me, and I'm like, don't talk to me, I'm breathing.
No, I know. I'm a quiet when I work out, I like to be a little bit quieter as well. It's nice to have fun and high five and all of that, but to really concentrate on what we're doing. Well, in something, context.
Exactly. In something as heavy as a deadlift, if you're not breathing correctly, you can literally injure yourself because you're not holding breath or exhaling or inhaling at the right spots, right? Yeah. So that's a perfect example of why breath is so important, just from that physical aspect. So imagine what it's going to do. You talked about anxiety. And I must say, and by the way, you said pandemic, it's the next pandemic. I hope not. I hope you meant epidemic.
Epidemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic,
I don't want it to be a pandemic, please. No loneliness pandemics. But I think, what's important to note is that, when we are breathing, that yes, the anxiety can fall away. But my theory is that it's because we're not creating, and that's causing the anxiety because there's a buildup of thoughts of what you want to create. And that when you actually bring it back to breath, say that 3 times fast, bring it back to breath, you start to collate those thoughts, if I may say, or don't think at all.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me what drops in when people are doing breath work. Is it like letting go of some thoughts? Is it a collating of them? Like, what do you experience?
Yeah, this is an interesting point of conversation, which is, it's sort of a chicken or egg thing. What came first? And the nervous system works in a really beautiful way. And we start to understand, especially when we are talking about, let's talk about the vagus nerve, right? Because it's so on trend to talk about the vagus nerve. But the vagus nerve in the body, if I'm going to be a little nerdy about science, 80% of the fibers that are in that nerve are afferent, which means they go to your brain, which means 80% of what's happening in our body is telling our brain what to do, and only 20% the other way around. So in all the experience and the work and the ways that I work with people, I really over and over again remind them that the way that we breathe can actually channel to how we are thinking and what our thoughts become, right? The way we breathe is what we think. And if we are because when we shift our breath, we shift our nervous system state, right? So if we're wanting to feel a little bit more positive, or if we're wanting a little less rumination, we can actually physically shift that by shifting the body, right? And that might be body scans or meditation or movement, but breath is just so, it's the core of how we send those signals back to the brain.
So true. I mean, think about it. When a swimmer is in a rhythmic breath pattern, how they perform, or if you're making love and you're synchronizing breath, how that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are so many life examples where breath is so beautiful, and then you have that beautiful outcome where life just sings, right?
Yeah, like more of a flow state even. And I work with some collegiate and university level teams. I worked with professional athletes, and the breath can make all the difference. Anything from the way that we think, meaning athletes are going to be able to navigate stress better when it comes to a swimmer, for example, coming off the blocks in a competition that's going to have anticipation or fear or nervousness or stress. So they can shift that. And then also being able to shift their breath so that they take, especially with a swimmer, like 1 or 2 less breaths across the laps of the pool is going to give them a faster time, right? And that's the difference between winning and losing.
Right.
Yeah.
All comes back to breath.
Yeah.
Where was the time that you forgot to breathe, and what happened?
Where was the time that I forgot to breathe, and what happened?
Was it your journey? Like, was that how you got into breath work? You said you had anxiety that you experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I've been leading in the breathwork space. I was a yoga teacher for years and years in New York City, and then I've been doing things in the breathwork space for 8 or 9 years. But I think for me, the pivotal moment was exactly around the thought space. I was training with my mentor at the time. He put me in the center of the room with like 16 people around, watching me breathe, having a kettlebell in my belly, having me shift my breath. And I had this really big rising of sort of anticipation of everyone looking at me and feeling like, oh, people are staring at me and they're judging me. Like, this is something that happens to so many of us in society as it is. But I was hyper aware of everyone looking at me. And I had thought, this whole half an hour I'm doing this breathwork piece, people are judging me and thinking terrible things about me, right? This sense of negative self-talk. And at the end of it, smartly, my mentor, I got up and I was feeling teary-eyed and I was feeling overwhelmed. And my mentor said, hey, I just want everybody to quickly go around the circle and say what they saw. And people mostly said, this is what I learned. This was great. We saw when you shifted this, piece of your breath cadence or lateral breathing, whatever they said, but it was all just very like research and beautiful and sweet and kind. And there was no negative thing. And I had sort of made that up all in my head. And so after taking some time in reflection, realizing that was more of my, it's my story that I'm telling myself in my head every day, and how I wanted to be able to go out into the world and breathe with people, in a sense that, especially females, I work with a lot of women. They don't want women to get up in the morning and do the thing in the mirror that happens so often, which is just really speaking poorly to themselves in the mirror, or selling themselves short for about the entire day, how they're going to go walk into their day. Like, you got up and did deadlifts this morning, which is like so badass. And like, women can get up and do all the things, right? I mean, humans can, but the women I work with, just shifting that thought process, just with a little bit of breath.
It really just started with gratitude though, because I did have adrenaline, because I knew that I was doing 4 interviews back to back, and that can cause breathlessness.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what am I going to do with this adrenaline? What am I going to do with this excess cortisol, right? So I thought, okay, I have a gym downstairs. I'm going to use that. But instead of doing like running, I did weights because I wanted to feel powerful. And then it's interesting because I intuitively focused on breath as I was doing it, to get my breath back centered while I was using that adrenal response, if that makes sense. So, I mean, that's why I'm a wellness expert, because I know what I'm doing. But not everybody's aware. So you create an awareness. The group showed you the awareness. You're now tapping into that. You're teaching others, because the best is to, give the gift back. What you learned, you're giving back. What are some of the profound healing and life-changing, experiences that you've seen happen when you facilitated breath work for someone?
Yeah, I mean, reduction of stress across the board. I'm working with many, many executives, and just having them be able to be more powerful in these moments of stress, right? We want to be able to be the most regulated person in the room when we have a staff of 50 people or a team meeting, and everything is being thrown against the wall, or if there's an issue and a challenge, right? Whether it's dealing with accounting or taxes or the entire staff, I see lots of shifts within the way people are running their businesses, right? A calm, focused, centered leader that can stand in flow can create a culture that mirrors that. And quite often we see the opposite, right? If somebody is a hot-headed leader, then nobody on the team knows what to do. So from an executive and business standpoint, I see lots of teams and people who are working with me able to trickle down to their colleagues as well as the people that work from them and families, right? They get to come home, they take a breath, they're more present with their children, their wives, their husbands, all of that. So I think that there's a big connection, communication, and community thing that really comes out of being more intentional with reducing stress, breathing every day, getting better sleep. You know more than most people how much sleep really counts as something that's going to shift your health.
You're saying that the breath can help the sleep.
Yeah, 100%. If you're living your entire day in an upregulated state of stress, and then you want to sleep better at night, or we're looking at screens and we're feeling like rumination before we go to bed. So many people navigate that. It creates sleeplessness.
Yeah.
So the more we can breathe ourselves into calm before we go to bed, regulate ourselves, the more that we can just have overall optimal health directionally.
So I experienced breath work when I birthed my son for 14 hours naturally. And it was a calm birth technique, which is essentially a combination of different things, including breath and holding for certain counts and then expelling and all that sort of stuff for certain counts. And you really tap into an over release of oxytocin, which is kind of like a pain relieving drug that my body produced, which is why the birthing process, it was still like, I didn't call it pain. It was intense. It was an intense feeling, but I couldn't describe it as painful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't ever like to use the word pain. I think it's something we layer on top of as a blanket. And I think things can be intense.
Right.
I put a lot of people through cold water exposure using breath as like a tool.
Right.
So in those moments, it's really about, it is an intense experience. We have to be with what is though, right? And so I've heard some of your other episodes. It's like we want to make sure, like from an NLP perspective, from the way that we language things, this is something that seems so important to you, is that we speak about things that in the way that they are, as opposed to coloring them with language.
And so it's funny because NLP, for those who are just listening for the first time, means it's an acronym for neuro-linguistic programming. But when you said it, something came to mind. I was like, neuro-linguistic perception, which is creating the programming.
Yeah.
Because our perception of that experience can literally change the experience, right?
100%. Yeah.
So, okay, we're breathing. We might be breathing with you. We might be breathing from after what you've taught us. And what are we allowed to be conscious of? Because again, people will relate this to what it's like when you meditate or when you pray, let's say.
Yeah.
But it's very different because you're actually so conscious of the counts of the breath, right? And then what drops in.
Yeah. And I think there's when I have clients that can't stick to a meditation practice, I always weave in breath because it's giving them something that's like strategic distraction, right? Whether it's counting or how they're breathing, if they're breathing out of their nose or their mouth, and there's a pattern there to help create some flow. And so when I'm speaking to people, like if anyone's listening, however people are listening to this or watching this, it's something to think about the nasal breathing piece of the puzzle, because it's the first line of defense for you to oxygenate your system, to take really good care of yourself. Is 70% of my day when I'm not speaking and I'm not at the gym and I'm not doing other things that are upregulated, how can I be breathing nasally, right? How can I get more oxygen in my system? So that's a very big baseline thing that I suggest to most people. That's pretty easy to do. Like wherever anyone's listening right now or watching, they can close their mouth and breathe through their nose and just spend a few minutes like that. And that's going to help your system get more oxygen, clarity, and focus.
As you're talking, I've been doing that, but let's explain to them why breathing through the nose is crucial.
Yeah. So there's three main things that happen when you breathe through your nose. You create nitric oxide. So it's a vasodilator. So it's naturally going to move your blood more quickly, lower your heart rate. There is a filtration system in your body that actually helps filter the air so that we get less sick, less,
in the
often.
nasal hairs, right?
Yeah, all in the nasal cavity. And those are things that the mouth doesn't do.
Also, I don't like it when people wax all their nostril hairs out. That's not good. We need those hairs.
Welcome to LA.
Side note, we need them, guys.
Yeah. And then the nose conditions the air. So it may sound like a fraction of a different degree of temperature change. Is that going to make a difference or not? But it optimizes everything that you can breathe air through your nose into your lungs and have a better experience of the day-to-day and also nervous system tone.
So a lot of people who mouth breathe, my theory is it comes from jaw or occlusion, recession. There's less occlusion alignment. It can come from posture, hormones, emotional stuff. So as somebody who's a lover of chiropractic, been getting adjusted for regularly getting checked weekly for nearly 28 years now. And that can actually change the way we breathe, because people go into fight or flight posture, where it's a boxer's position where they got the neck forward and all the blood's in the brain, and not in the brain anymore. It's in the extremities, ready to run away from the lion or wrestle it to the ground. And we're also in a position where our hearts aren't open, our chest isn't open, our diaphragm's shut off, right? So the breathing can become shallow when we're in a state of fight or flight. So just coming back to alignment is major. If somebody's starting to practice your breath work or breath work, can we talk about some of the other lifestyle things? For example, you wouldn't want to wear a bustier top like mine, because it's constricting breathing, right? You want to turn up in comfortable clothing like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Because posture can affect all of that. And this is what we see too. When we do get in a heightened state, our posture changes. So our bodies change with the environment and the circumstances that are going on. So it's really about being comfortable. It's setting yourself up for success. It's breathing into your belly. I say sometimes make pot bellies cool again. We've been socialized to not have that, but really how we breathe into our lower ribs, how we expand our belly, it really changes how we feel. And I think that's the overarching thing is.
So we want the bellies to fill first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then let the breath come up. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So specifically when you're nasal breathing, but you want to be, when you inhale, you breathe into the lower lobes of the lungs. That's physiologically what happens. And that's where, because you and I are sitting upright right now, or when we're standing, that's where gravity has the blood pooling. And because there's an oxygen gas exchange in the lungs, standing or sitting when you're breathing can give you more oxygenation if you're breathing nasally, which is a big scientific nerdy thing, and it's great. And also so much of breath work is done 45-minute classes where people are lying on the ground, and that's a really important safety piece, because if we're breathing through the mouth a lot, we get out of the prefrontal cortex, we get out of the rational mind, and we can feel elation and energy shifts and a lot of this clarity about decisions in our lives, because we're not kind of stuck in this monkey mind. And you can get dizzy. So if you're laying on the ground, it's a safety thing that you can just have a beautiful experience and not fall over.
Interesting. Yeah. If anyone's not from America, by the way, and you're from Australia and you're listening to this, I just want to say I love it when Americans go, and also. It's just a thing you do that you don't realize, and it just sounds so cool because we're adding on. Also.
Yeah.
So, but there are so many things to think about. And what about when we're breathing unconsciously or subconsciously at night, and we might be mouth breathing? What do you think about the taping of the mouth for breathing through the nostrils?
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is if somebody is working with a medical practitioner with sleep apnea or asthma or some challenge, then it's great to make sure that you are getting advice from your doctor, because I don't have letters behind my name like that. But I'm an advocate of mouth taping. I mouth taped last night, actually, after traveling here. But I'm an advocate of it. I think you want to be able to mouth tape. If it makes you nervous to do it all night, do it the hour before you go to sleep so that you're unwinding with nasal breath. Slowly work your way through the night. And really, if you do it in a 2-week stretch, your body will course correct for the most part, and you'll start breathing nasally. It's not like you have to mouth tape forever and ever. Also, if you're with your partner and want to have a little romance, it's not the sexiest thing to mouth tape some nights. So
unless they're doing it too.
Yeah, unless they are too. It's like biohackers in the bedroom. So mouth taping is a great way to retrain the body, to breathe nasally while you're sleeping. It's just, we spend so many hours, hopefully, getting sleep and getting rest that we want it to be healthy hours of breathing and more deep sleep, etc.
I think you've given me an idea for a next book, Biohacking in the Bedroom. Wink, wink.
Yeah, but you even spoke about this beautiful co-regulation thing with your partner, and if we're going to bed feeling angry at each other or feeling really, curious or loving each other, we want to be able to co-regulate our breath and our nervous system, so that we're really synchronized. And we see this in nervous system tracking software. The more people are spending time, the more the nervous system types that they have are converging with each other.
Well, if you bring it back to the new epidemic that you think has been created with the loneliness and everything, we are living in big houses, far away from each other, no longer in community living, all that sort of thing, pretending that we've got it all going on. And it's kind of unhealthy if you think about it. It's unnatural. It's not how we're designed to live, but it's happening. And so, creating those micro moments of togetherness wherever you can in your day is crucial for overall well-being and maybe even breath. But did you know this, Kristen, when, we fall asleep, if we're together co-sleeping, we synchronize breathing, heartbeats, and body temperature. And that's when you fall asleep, like when you're spooning a partner.
Yeah.
So I'm a massive advocate of co-sleeping with mother and baby or parent and baby, because we get told in the Western world, go put your baby in another room, close the door, sleep train from 7 to 7. It's really barbaric and very psychologically damaging. The neurological pathways just don't work the way they're designed in terms of, if I may say, wiring the brain and allowing it to become one brain, because it's in 3 parts: mammalian, reptilian, and rational parts of the brain. And so, yeah, they don't fully become one brain in a healthy fashion at the age of 5 or 7, the way they're supposed to. So breathing right from birth together, that co-regulation that you talk about, it's evident that it's imperative.
100%. 100%. It's how you're training your child's nervous system how to behave in the world. Like,
Wow.
it's so important.
Yeah. Do you think maybe this is why we're all in trouble, because we've been, told to like be on our own, and right from the get-go we're like not even breathing properly. So maybe this is why we've got so many issues now that we're adults, It could have started right from there.
Yeah, and I think it's also course correctable with a little bit of intention. And I think that there's a notion of we're not getting enough touch from other humans, of everything we've been through in the last 5 or 10 years. It's like, how do we, of course, safe, respectful, consensual touch, but like hugging each other and having connection and holding hands with people. And my friend group, my breathwork tribe, if you will, and the people in the space of health optimization, I think we're starting to know that more and more and more, that we have meals together, we sit, we breathe, we digest, we hold hands, we hug, we sit on the couch, we curl up together. It's not in a romantic way, but it's in a way that we are creating more community and co-regulation, especially if someone in the group is, and this happens with children too, right? If someone in the group is feeling upset or worried or crying, then it's like everyone gathering around them can sort of help co-regulate and calm that space. Yeah.
Well, I think that the listeners and viewers are ready for a bit of breath work with you. Could we be taken through some now and just have a little practice?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do a little breathwork practice. I'm going to run us through something that's a pranayamic style breath that comes from a little bit of research. So those of you who are listening are like, I want the science behind this. This is a beautiful breath to do. You can do it as many times as you want. I'll just run us through it once. It is a glucose managing breath work. So there's research that shows that before a meal and with people who are diabetic, this can help regulate glucose. And for the rest of us, it begins in a way that we can start to calm ourselves over a very short period of time.
Interesting.
So the breath work will be all through the nose, and every inhale we do will be 2 counts. So we'll move our breath. We're going to inhale for 2 every time, and that will be even and easy. And then we'll scale the breath on the exhale.
Are we supposed to close our eyes when we do this?
You can if you want. It's up to people. It's like how people feel safe. The invitation is always there, so you can kind of turn inward. I'll quite often put my hands on my heart or my belly.
Okay.
So every inhale will be a count of 2, and then as we exhale, we'll be counting 1 through 10.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll close our eyes and then just jump on the train as you're ready. There's no wrongs or rights. Okay, together through the nose. Inhale 2, 1, exhale 1. Inhale 2, 1, exhale 2, 1. Inhale 2, 1, exhale 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, exhale 4, longer exhale, 2, 1. Inhale 2, exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, big inhale, exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, let it out long, slow, and easy. 7, 6, 5, gentle exhale, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, exhale 8, 7. You should start to feel your body unwinding, softening, down-regulating. Inhale 2, exhale 9, almost there. Long, slow, and easy. Exhale out of the nose. Last one, inhale 2, exhale 10, 9, 8, 7, focused and clear. And that's it.
What if I felt like taking deeper breaths in, because we were only breathing in for 2? What does that mean?
There's so many different ways and protocols and breathwork styles. The reason that that's a shorter inhale is you do 2 every time, because when we inhale, we upregulate our heartbeat. So you're navigating that you are downregulating and slowing your heart rate by most of the focus on the exhale. And you also have the opportunity to, breathe in so many different ways. So if you felt like I want to take more air in, you and I are like under lights and camera and all this excitatory.
So we're exhaling a lot, aren't we, as we're talking? But
Yeah, we're exhaling a lot as we're talking. We're in a more upregulated state. And so it's just really about how we want to navigate ourselves into the next thing, right? It's like you have all these interviews all day. So you may want to be like pumping some more breath in and out to get yourself stoked and excited about what's to come.
So there's lots of different rhythmic breathing patterns that we can...
So many. That's just one. Yeah, that's just one protocol. I like to share that sometimes because it's unique and it's one that people haven't all done. Many people have done box breath or 2x breathing or simple nasal breathing. So I like to mix it up a little.
Well, where can we find more so that we can do this more often?
Yeah, absolutely. I am Kristen Weitzel Official on all the socials. You can, I still answer my own DMs, and so you can always write me there. I have Sherpa Breath and Cold, which is my breathwork and cold exposure business for certifying coaches and leading these tools, as well as I work with people one-on-one, both athletes and kind of every kind of human that wants to optimize their health around breath and cold, mental well-being, and that's all through Sherpa Breath and Cold.
Thank you so much, Kristen Weitzel. If you've enjoyed this episode, Well To Do, are you breathing better? I certainly am. I hope you're feeling relaxed. Then make sure you share this. Even leave a review or comment, because the more people we can help by you helping us, the better world we have. So thank you, Kristen, for joining us on Well To Do.
Thank you.